Yeah, my name is Fabio Alexander Vasquez. I've been in aviation for close to 30 years. I started out fueling planes, not knowing that I would own FBOs and a charter company. And I've been here at Opalaca pretty much since 1994 when I was fueling planes. And then in 96, I started Miami Executive Aviation in November 18th, 1996. And it's kind of hard to go look back on how the airport was then and how incredibly it looks now. Definitely not the same airport. Back then it was the Pirates of the Caribbean, all the wrong documentaries that you've probably seen on TV. Now, hopefully they come up with a new one, because the airport now is the second busiest private aviation airport in the United States behind Teterboro.
I'm Rafael Pons, president of Eurocars USA Inc. I've been in the car business since I was a kid, restoring cars, classic cars in my country, Uruguay, with my father and my grandfather and my brother. I'm here in the United States since 2006, and I've been doing the same, restoring cars and in the exotic and classic car market.
And, Executive Air Services, which is EAS Charter, is now a company that not only does aircraft charter, does aircraft sales, and does aircraft management, which also includes maintenance. So with that, we basically have grown since COVID, which affected us all. We were all pretty much not doing much in April. And then the months to come, now we were the most popular thing to have, because back then a lot of people were quarantined, and those that could afford or find a second or a third location either rented or bought, and they realized that there was a private airport close by. So then private aviation became more popular, charter business started to boom, people started buying airplanes. So that first investment has been Executive Air Services, along with the brand that I'm launching called GoFlight, to make it an introductory for those who've never touched foot in an airplane, to create the jet experience. Now, as far as other investors besides myself, Opalaca, South Florida, and what's going on in Miami, I think the investment alone in hangars like this, which is built by Sky Harbor, and the investment next door to be the most private, exclusive, what they call race car club, for those that collect cars and those that are just very good at racing. You know, Helio Castroneves is one of the co-founding members of the Concourse Club, along with other investors that have been pouring money into this airport, probably close to $500 million worth of investment.
The business is growing every year, and we have different types of collectors. We have the vintage cars collectors, then the exotic cars collectors. You have to study a lot to see what car is being named a collecting car. For example, the Porsche 911, if you see a Porsche 911, it seems that all the cars are the same, but each car is different. The first owner of the car can choose the color, the interior, and we have a lot of brands that do the same, like Mercedes-Benz. For example, this car that I have here is a very special car because it was built by McLaren, when McLaren was partnered with Mercedes-Benz in the Formula One, and they built this car in England, not in Germany, and it's handmade. So it's a very, very special. It's all carbon fiber. The engine is in a position in the body, in the middle of the car. The doors are very, very popular, the wing doors. So more or less is how the business is going here in the United States.
The investment really for the charter company is providing the power of time. My product is more than just an airplane, more than taking you from point A to point B, is providing you the power of time. And so what that return on investment is from the charter company standpoint, it's also for the consumer, because I'm providing transportation, but I'm also providing you the opportunity on how that time is a return for you. How? Obviously, you're not driving 2.5 hours before the airport to go catch a flight, or maybe an hour after you arrive. But you're also at the mercy of 500 airports that only the airlines can go to, where we have a 10-to-1 advantage over the airlines, because we can fly privately with our planes into the same 500 airports that they can only fly into, because they're commercially rated and international. But we can also go to 5,000 other general aviation airports. So we can go to 5,500 airports. So that is a return on investment on time, and time doesn't have a price. So that's one on charter. Two, if someone was to go and invest in an airplane for them, and they wanted to give it to me to manage, well, The return on investment depends on how they're utilizing the airplane. It, they wouldn't be buying an airplane if time wasn't an issue, and usually they come to me, Fabio, I've been chartering a long time. I think I'm flying enough. I need to buy an airplane. Okay, well, yeah, you're flying about over 200 hours, 250, so that makes sense for you to buy. And Fabio helped me with my mission profile. Great, where do you fly? Here to New York, here to Chicago, here to LA. And each of those profiles might mean a different size airplane. And with a different size airplane, you can go from $3 to $5 to $10 million.
The most important thing is how the car was built. Is what I do. I study the car, the color, the interior, the engine, brakes, everything counts. You have to be careful because if you don't study the car, you can make a mistake. So that is my job, to try to explain to the customers how the car was built and how in the future they're going to have a profit with that car. It's also a very important thing to do when you want to maintain your inversion.
So as far as private jet investments, how it meets that demographics for Miami, which is a luxury location, I think comes in consort with other amenities that I work with. Besides my charter company, as I mentioned earlier, the Concourse Club, which is one of the most exclusive race car club memberships you can have, and one of the only ones on a private airport. That's one. Two, you obviously have, like I mentioned, with these private hangars, but we're also the closest to not only Formula One, as I told you with Hard Rock Cafe, we're also the closest to the football games, to NCAA football games as well. And also now we have the World Cup coming. So that is, I'm just complimentary to the existing amenities. So what do I provide besides that? What kind of compliments? Well, as I said earlier, it's in the eye of the beholder what that return on the investment is. I just provide educational analysis for that entrepreneur, that family, or that individual, or that Fortune 500 company, and I help them find the best eye as the holder, and as one who has been holding many airplanes or managed airplanes within my 20 to almost 30 years now. And so I think it's only has, it's really interesting because apart from the events that I mentioned and Art Basel, which I didn't mention, there's other events that are coming, and Miami is just becoming a hub for everybody in the United States to either move here, have a second home here, or continue to make investments. And a lot of those investments are in hangars, airplanes, or businesses like mine.
For me, Miami is an exotic car market, for sure. Vintage cars here are lying in some collections, but most of the market is exotics, for sure. We have coming a lot of interest events. We have the Design District Concourse, that big brands like Lamborghini, Pagani, Ferrari, Mercedes, all are in these kind of events that most of the people go and see the cars there, because it's not common to see it in the street, but in these shows you can see it. We have the first year of the Billmore is last 2 months ago, that it was an interesting event. We have the 100 Collector Club, that this car is part of the 100. And we also have the Cavalcade in Aventura. That is also a big event of exotic cars. Most of the people here want these cars. They don't want vintage because they are very, to drive a vintage car, you have to to have a mechanic in the back.
So we actually provide a very lower carbon footprint. But in addition, our industry, National Business Aviation Association, which is our advocacy group, has been advocating for sustainable aviation fuels called SAF. And the Opalaca, along with other airports, are making that investment in sustainable fuel for our future. Now, everybody argues, is it enough? No, it's not enough. We got to keep doing it, but we got to start somewhere. In addition to that, one of the things that I like having is newer airplanes. So we like customers with more modern and newer airplanes because they have less of a carbon footprint and they're more environmentally friendly. But one of the investments I've made is in one of the brands that I have called GoFlight, where these are Cirrus Vision SF50 jets, single pilot, single engine jet with a parachute, and the technology that if anything happened to the pilot, passenger can hit a button, it would fly back on its own. So it's probably one of the most successful single-engine airplane manufacturers in the United States. And what does that have to do with sustainability emissions? Well, you have one engine instead of two. You have one pilot instead of two. So anything that's less is less of a carbon footprint or an impact on the economy, on the environment, which in fact helps the economy. Because at the end of the day, we all got to keep investing in better, more modern things to help the planet. And so with the SF50, with GoFlight, and my responsibility as a citizen of the planet, not just of the United States, I think it encumbers all of us, Rafael included, all of us, to make that investment on our own and continue, not just forget about it.
Personally, I don't like electric cars. They are not in my near future, but I understand that it's coming, it's growing. The market of electric cars is growing, and there is some companies that are building electric engines to install in vintage cars. Jaguars, Austin Healey's, Aston Martins are now built with electric engines. They have some market that people that don't understand about vintage cars are prefer the originality of the car. I don't like to change a bolt in a car. For me, it's not negotiable to change something that is not original. But you know, the electric market is coming, and this small business of selling electric engines for vintage cars have a little place in the market. I don't see here in Miami this type of cars. Yes, in Europe they start using Jaguar E-types, and Volkswagen also, the Beetle, the old Beetle, they put electric engines inside, and some people buy it.
This kind of ties into sustainability, because mitigating risks is also investing in the future. And I understand not everybody's a fan of electric vehicles. Neither was I. I happen to have an electric vehicle, and now electric eVTOL aircraft are coming. So in mitigating my jet investments in my jet business, I also partner with a good friend of mine named Steve Arsano from the jet business, who's also keeping an eye and growing with an industry that's going to happen, which is the eVTOL market, the electronic vertical takeoff and land market. And so by investing in the future, by investing in people, by investing in training, and not forgetting the most important and most priceless thing is safety, because that is our number one responsibility. And so in mitigating risks, it's first life with safety, it's two, investing in the future, and three, in training with my people and pilots to be better than they are before. And constantly never saying that you're just safe because you're safe, having a culture of that. So the responsibility is not only just for me, it's everybody in the industry. For as much as the electric cars go and electric airplanes, electric cars are already here. Electric planes are already happening, which is what I meant with eVTOL aircraft. So much so that they're demoing a eVTOL electric aircraft for the Olympics in Paris, that they're going to be shuttling people to and from. That's what's programmed to be. We'll see if that happens. But in the next, this year and the years to come, now you're going to see what is called the last mile. What the last mile is for Amazon for that delivery, now it's going to be that last 20, 15, 10 miles for people that are just going to take these eVTOL aircraft that are going to go from their home or a helipad or a heliport to the football game, to the basketball game, or to even the park where the family goes to see a soccer game for his kids. So it's coming. So the investment really is, like I said, safety, your people, and the future.
It's been a pleasure, Fabio, to be here. Thank you very much to hospitality here in your house. It's a nice place, and it was very interesting to talk with you about your aviation investment.
Rafael, forget about my house. My house is not good if we can't make it our house. So mi casa is tu casa, in our hangar. And so I also wanted to compliment you with what you do with European cars and your collection. And I'm in agreement with you. I think if you're going to do nostalgic and have collectible cars, I think down to the screw, that's how important it is to you. And yes, electric cars is nowhere sexier than having a vintage car from the 2000s, from the 90s, 80s, going all the way back to the 50s, and having, especially being part of an exclusive club like the 100, I think that's very complimentary, because anybody who has exotic cars has private planes. Now, the one thing I would challenge you with me is to buy antique airplanes. You know, I always wanted to buy Frank Sinatra's Learjet, which I don't know where it is. You know, I was going to buy JFK's 182 or 185, I think it was, and it was auctioned off. I just never got into the collection of airplanes. I bought the airplanes to produce compensation, but never got into collectibles. So maybe you can help me with that.
Yes, of course.